They reported today that there's been a breach of their system and that data was compromised and that the intruders got access.
Documents how Equifax failed to follow basic cybersecurity practices and protocols which prevented the company from identifying and patching an exploitable vulnerability on its system. During the course
that Homeland Security notified Equifax. This is almost 7 months.
It's because the FTC, i.e. Trump's government, made a really crappy deal with them, a settlement, where they only have to pay $31 million for one of the worst data breaches.
Did any of us opt in to having Equifax monitor our credit? No, not a single person. They just do it. They do it without us having.
In a centralized digital economy, one fallen domino can compromise everyone. In September 2017, the cyber custodial landscape changed forever when a major credit bureau became the center of a massive digital crisis.
2017 saw a cyber earthquake, a seismic event in the digital world. It shook the very foundations of data security, sending shockwaves across the globe. Its epicenter was Equifax, a credit reporting giant that millions trusted with their personal information. This wasn't just a data breach, it was a full-blown catastrophe, a digital disaster of unprecedented scale.
When a central pillar of the financial system fails to protect its archives, the security of millions of individuals is compromised instantly. The sheer scale of the incident stunned the public as news outlets began reporting the staggering number of affected consumers.
They reported today that there's been a breach of their system and that data was compromised and that the intruders got access to personal data, personal info from, I kid you not, 143 million Americans. That would be about almost half of the American population.
Exposing the personal, many affected individuals quickly realized they had never actively signed up for the services of the bureau that lost their data.
Equifax had a major security breach that we found out about over the weekend. The financial information of 143 million customers could have been stolen, and I was one of those customers. I've not personally done proactive business with Equifax, so how could this be? Well, Equifax is one of the 3 major U.S. credit bureaus, so there's TransUnion, there's Experian, and then there's Equifax.
Credit bureaus operate in the shadows, collecting information on millions of people who never chose to opt in. Because credit agencies compile records from various institutions, a single compromise can expose your entire digital identity.
Equifax revealed that they had had a data security breach and that criminals had obtained very private data like social security numbers, birth dates, and driver's license numbers from almost 150 million people. So that is almost half of the people in the United States. Even though you may never have voluntarily done business with Equifax, they most likely have all of your data because they are one of the 3 big credit reporting agencies.
When your social security number and birth date are stolen, identity restoration becomes a years-long struggle. A congressional investigation later revealed that the credit giant ignored basic system maintenance and failed to apply critical security updates.
Documents how Equifax failed to follow basic cybersecurity practices and protocols which prevented the company from identifying and patching an exploitable vulnerability on its system. During the course of our investigation, we also learned the company failed to preserve important documents related to the breach. Equifax employees told us they frequently used a chat application called Microsoft Link. When Equifax first discovered the breach on July 29th, 2017, the security team used that chat platform to discuss the hack system.
Neglecting basic cybercustody protocols is a choice, and the consequences of that choice were borne by 147 million citizens. Despite discovering suspicious activity in late July, executive leadership did not immediately realize the full extent of the compromised data.
Stated that you were informed of suspicious activity on July the 31st by your chief information officer and went on to discuss that. And you said, I certainly did not know that personal identifying information, PII, had been stolen or have any indication of the scope of the attack. Did you ask him if there had been any personal identifying information that had been obtained?
Delayed. Notification windows give bad actors a massive head start before consumers can. take defensive measures. When questioned about the systemic breakdown, corporate executives pointed to a mix of individual mistakes and automated system failures.
Now that this criminal attack was made possible because of a combination of human error and technological error.
Blaming a multimillion user disaster on human error avoids addressing the underlying systemic lack of accountability. As panic spread, consumers rushed to secure their credit files, only to confront a broken and confusing online portal.
Went to the Equifax website to see if his information had been released, had been stolen in effect, which it had been. So he, like many, decided he would freeze his credit as a precautionary measure. So in navigating through their website, he wound up not on the page to freeze his credit, but on the page where Equifax offered for purchase its product.
A recovery system that is as broken as the security itself only compounds the anxiety of those affected. Lawmakers and attorneys general across the country quickly demanded clear answers regarding how such an enormous breach was allowed to happen.
The fact that the CEO has resigned or retired, whatever they're calling it, changes nothing about our investigation. Our investigation has 47 state attorneys general involved. I'm proud that Pennsylvania is the lead state among them, and we are full steam ahead. Here's the thing. We're going to get to the bottom of what occurred with this breach. We will hold Equifax accountable. We will make sure that people's data is protected going forward and hopefully change corporate behaviors so that folks don't have to worry about a breach of
public outcry for regulators to step in and investigate the deeply flawed safety mechanisms of the credit sector. At the same time, policy decisions in Washington made it more difficult for average citizens to seek legal recourse through class action lawsuits.
After 9 months of struggling to deliver on their legislative priorities, Senate Republicans found unity this week when they overturned a rule that would have made it easier for Americans to sue banks and credit card companies. The measure passed with Vice President Mike Pence breaking a 50-50 tie. This is Senator Sherrod Brown speaking just before the vote Tuesday night.
The Vice President of the United States is here. It looks like Equifax and Wall Street.
Removing the right to sue shifts the legal advantage back to massive corporate institutions. Initial attempts to resolve the issue legally resulted in settlement offers that many consumer advocates found indulgently small.
Anticipate the number of responses it would get. The FTC is telling affected Equifax customers to opt for free credit monitoring instead of cash. In fact, the assistant director of the FTC Division of Privacy and Identity Protection told the public that the response to the settlement has been overwhelming and that millions of people have applied for compensation via the settlement website's claim forms. And he says, quote, a large number of claims for
when settlements fail to match the severity of the damage, they function more like a minor tax than a real deterrent. It was later confirmed that federal cyber custody agencies had explicitly warned the company about the critical vulnerability months before the breach.
Information that Homeland Security notified Equifax. This is almost 7 months ago. This has to do with a patch. So I know there are a lot of questions that have probed this, but
having the cure in hand and choosing not to apply, it is the definition of corporate negligence. The Department of Justice eventually intervened, bringing formal criminal charges against state-sponsored actors linked to the attack.
Indictment of Chinese military hackers, specifically 4 members of the Chinese People's Liberation Army, for breaking into the computer systems of the credit reporting agency Equifax, and for stealing the sensitive personal information of nearly half of all American citizens. And also Equifax's
criminal charges show the global scale of the threat, but they do little to secure the data already leaked. Investigators documented a highly organized exfiltration campaign that systematically drained records from the company's servers.
The scale of the theft was staggering. As alleged in the indictment, the hackers obtained the names, birth dates, and social security numbers of nearly 150 million Americans and the driver's licenses of approximately at least 10 million Americans. This theft not only caused significant financial damage to Equifax, but invaded the privacy of many millions of Americans and imposed substantial.
Once sensitive information leaves the server, it remains in circulation indefinitely. The failure to secure the network was traced back to a single, unapplied software patch on an internal server.
No, this criminal attack was made possible because of a combination of a human error and a technological error. The human error involved the failure to apply a patch to our dispute portal in March of 2017. The technological error involved a scanner which failed to detect the vulnerability on this particular portal, which had not been patched. Both errors have since been addressed. On July 29th and July 30th, suspicious activity was detected.
In digital security, a single and patched door is all. An attacker needs to compromise an entire enterprise, because these agencies hold concentrated files on almost every adult citizen. They represent high-value targets for global threat actors. Centralized data repositories create a single point of failure that places millions of lives at risk. The compromised credentials included the specific government identifiers used by institutions to verify identity.
Info included credit card numbers, driver's license numbers, social security numbers, and other kinds of personal info. I will say I did read that there were only 209,000 credit card numbers stolen. So that's part of the bright side of this, even though that's a lot. But it is a huge breach, and we wanted to come on and talk about it here tonight. We're going to show you some of the stories out about it and also get your feedback on it.
Losing government identification numbers breaks the foundational layer of consumer trust in the digital age, adding to the chaos the lookup tool designed to help consumers verify their exposure suffered from its own set of technical errors.
To access names, social security numbers, birth dates, addresses, and driver's license numbers, including credit card numbers for hundreds of thousands of consumers as well. How did I find out that I was affected? Well, I went to EquifaxSecurity2017.com. I put in my last name and I put in the last 6 digits of my social security number. Now, there are reports saying, wait, you should even be careful with that website because the security certificate for that website hasn't been.
A botched crisis response only further deepens the distrust of an already anxious public. Early terms of service for the lookup tool attempted to restrict users from joining future class action lawsuits.
Public, Equifax originally made you sign this outrageous agreement that made you waive your rights to sue them later, just in order to find out whether your data was impacted. Mercifully, they were shamed into getting rid of this, so you don't have to worry about signing away your firstborn in order to protect your information. Are you affected? Okay, the first thing you need to do is check to see whether your data was stolen. You need to
forcing consumers to trade their legal rights for basic security updates is a deeply flawed corporate response. Internal investigators discovered that critical discussions regarding the security incident were held on temporary messaging channels.
The security team used that chat platform to discuss the hack system and even the company's response. Our report uncovered that Equifax did not issue a notice not to destroy documents related to the breach until August 22nd, 2017, and failed to set the chat platform to archive any of these chats until September 15th, 2017, a month and a half after the breach was discovered, again back on July 29th.
Failing to maintain stable communication records makes post-incident analysis significantly more difficult. Despite running automated vulnerability scans, the company's technical systems failed to detect the exposed gateway.
Marged for the vulnerability but failed to identify it. Can you explain how this is possible, and why was there never any confirmation of anybody coming back and checking to see, okay, we have this identified information, there was a failure at someone on the team to identify this, that it was being used, that the software was even being used, was there no one coming in to verify that?
Automated tools are only as reliable as the human verification processes backing them up. Under mounting regulatory scrutiny, the executive team laid out a plan to restore public confidence, though many remain skeptical.
We took 4 steps to protect consumers. Step number 1, determining when and how to notify the public, relying on the advice of our experts that we needed to have a plan in place as soon as we announced. Step 2, helping consumers by developing a website, staffing up massive call centers, and offering services free to every American. 3, preparing for increased cyber attacks, which we're advised by the cybersecurity experts that we should expect.
Rebuilding. A broken reputation requires transparent reform, not just temporary promotional campaigns. Navigating the recovery options was so complicated that even experienced professionals struggled to protect their accounts.
Equifax made it so hard for him to deal with an issue that was not his fault and in fact was their fault. This guy is a retired banker. He's tech savvy. He understands customer service. He understands how to navigate a website. He couldn't do it without our help. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody has the presence of mind to call their member of Congress. And Lord knows there's no way we could deal with 145 million of these.
When the burden of protection, consumer rights advocates emphasize the urgent need for strict, enforceable national guidelines regarding corporate data management.
Occurred and that their personal information is at risk.
It's a great question. And we do actually have a number of state laws, 47 state laws when it comes to reporting breaches. They're all sort of different. And this is one of those areas, and I'm a big states' rights guy, but this is one of those areas where having a federal standard where there is immediate disclosure of a breach is really critical. And look, we haven't gotten straight answers from Equifax yet about when that breach occurred. Now, in the media, I guess
Voluntary corporate guidelines are rarely sufficient to secure the sensitive data of a nation's citizens. Many financial contracts contain clauses that push consumer disputes into private arbitration rather than public courts. Private arbitration removes the transparency required to hold major institutions accountable. Analysts argued that the resulting regulatory settlement failed to impose a truly corrective penalty on the credit bureau.
Not the story. It's because the FTC, i.e. Trump's government, made a really crappy deal with them, a settlement where they only have to pay $31 million for one of the worst data breaches in American history. Gee, look at that. Oh, golly gee, we undersettled. We let another giant company get away with a tiny settlement given the depth of the problem.
A penalty that represents only a fraction of a firm's earnings is easily absorbed as a cost of doing business, despite the security team dispatching internal alerts about the vulnerability immediately. Coordination issues delayed the actual patch.
The security team, followed protocol and instantly, within a day, sent notification out to many people in the organization that a patch needed to be applied to Apache struts.
And did you ask your team when it was applied?
The security team did, and they spoke with the IT team as well.
Communication silos between security and operational teams can lead to catastrophic defense lapses. The compromised personal data soon found its way to underground digital markets, where it was sold to the highest bidder.
The names, birth dates, and social security numbers of nearly 150 million Americans, and the driver's licenses of approximately at least 10 million Americans. This theft not only caused significant financial damage to Equifax, but invaded the privacy of many millions of Americans and imposed substantial costs and burdens on them as they had to take measures to protect themselves from identity.
Stolen identities are treated as commodities in illicit markets, leaving consumers at permanent risk of fraud. Hackers navigated the internal systems quietly for weeks, executing small, undetected transfers to evade corporate censors.
The hackers broke into Equifax's network through a vulnerability in the company's dispute resolution system. Once in the network, the hackers spent weeks conducting reconnaissance, uploading malicious software, and stealing login credentials, all to set up the stage to steal vast amounts of data from Equifax's systems. While doing this, the hackers also stole Equifax's trade secret.
When attackers can roam a network, undetected for weeks, basic perimeter monitoring has clearly failed. A series of leadership departures followed, but independent. Reviews took months to define the true scope of the exposure.
At that time, we did not know the nature or the scope of the incident. It was not until late August that we concluded that we had experienced a major data breach. Over the weeks leading up to September 7th, our team continued working around the clock to prepare to make things right. We took 4 steps to protect consumers. First, determining when and how to notify.
Executive resignations may appease stakeholders, but they do not repair the compromised files of affected citizens. When uninvited guardians fail, the entire population pays the price.